Welcome back to the Point of No Return podcast. My name is Melissa Landers, and I'm here with my husband, Bryce Landers.
Yeah, that's right. We're back.
Last week, we talked about misalignments, the cost of misalignments, identifying misalignments, and stepping into things that are aligned. And today, what are we talking about?
Today, we're talking about vision. We're talking about dreams. We're talking about expanding and just getting into alignment even more. How our dreams pull us, how vision can pull us, how everything can pull us into alignment. Because we kind of touched on it last week, but got some requests to dive deeper. So that's what we're getting requests already.
Okay, so when we say big dreams and alignment and big vision, I think that maybe everyone has a different definition of what that means. And so I think it should be we should clarify and define what it is that we're talking about when we say those things. So what would you say is the definition of big dreams, big vision?
Big dreams and big vision. That's a great question and something to contemplate. I think we've thought about it a lot, but I would definitely say big dreams are dreams that are so, I don't want to say big, but they're so, you can't grasp it unless you have God's help. And like you, it's something so big that you have to rely on God, that you can't just do it yourself, but God will implant that vision. He'll implant that dream. And it's so big that it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? But the only way to do it is without God's help, or with God's help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is maybe a little off track a little bit, but what do you say about people who don't believe in God, who don't know God? Obviously, God is there.
That they should.
Yes, of course. But there's so many people in history and in our world who have big dreams and they've achieved big things, but they don't have a relationship with God. So any thoughts on that phenomenon?
I think, well, we know that God's spirit is moving regardless. And so I would say, first of all, that those people need to at least like consider that they might not know everything and even just dabble and just learn, but and just take the time to research, take the time to maybe even just explore possibilities that they never thought possible. But then I would also say that like the spirit is moving regardless, and so all dreams are God's dreams. But again, it's so big. Well, not again, but then, so what I would say, and kind of going back to the original question, is something big enough that it includes others. Because we know that like God put us here not for us, but to serve other people and to help other people and to like be fruitful and multiply. And so no matter what you're doing, whether you believe in God or not, you need to multiply, and the only way to multiply is through other people. So if the dream is something that's like so selfish and it doesn't include other people, which could look like building a business where you employ a bunch of people, or having like a sales organization where you're serving a lot of people, like something that includes others is not just limited to like a business, for example. But if it is including other people, then that's where we will, I guess, settle in.
Yeah. And do you think it is necessary for everyone to have big dreams?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you absolutely need to have big dreams that include other people.
Does everyone have big dreams?
Everybody needs to have big dreams because they're not going to act and they're not going to reach their potential or do even close to what they want if they don't have big dreams. Because like there's saying, if you shoot for the moon, or if you shoot for the stars, you'll hit the moon. And that's because the stars are so far beyond the moon. Like if you fall short, you're still going to land on the moon. And the idea with big dreams is if you have all of these big dreams, even if you don't hit them, you're still going to be a lot further along. But when it's only like, I want to take care of me and my circle, and I want a car because it's cool, and just you're only thinking about you, you're never going to see the possibilities of how you can reach those dreams, or even other possibilities, because your mind's going to be so single minded that just you don't have options. And then when you fall short, you're going to be extremely disappointed, and it's going to cause you to be stagnant. But what do you think? Why do people need big dreams, and what's your definition of a big dream?
Ditto to everything you just said.
Mm.
I think I've been in a season, maybe my early 20s, where I have always had big dreams. Like ever since I was a kid, always felt very, I guess different. I guess maybe we all, I don't know, but always felt that um the culture and the people around me were just scratching the surface. And I knew that as I got older, I wanted to accomplish something different than what I was seeing in the norm and conventional day to day around just the people around me. And I didn't know what that looks like exactly, but I just felt and just knew that it was different.
Yeah.
I didn't have a relationship with God at this time. So I think it was just God always giving me that internal compass since I was a young girl. But I think from what I have learned now, it's not about achieving, it's not just about, let me say that, because it's okay to have a big dream. It's okay to have success. It's okay to hit milestones for yourself. It's okay to make a lot of money. It's okay to like get nice things. Like it's okay to have those things and want those things. But it shouldn't be your motivator. It shouldn't be your driver. It shouldn't be what fulfills you, because it's God and it's people above those things.
Yeah.
And those are just like little fruit that are nice to have.
Right.
But I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and it's one of the realms in which we're super passionate about, but it's the transformation and the development that happens in you when you are pursuing something that's pulling you towards something bigger than yourself, like what you're saying. And for me, it's more so about just meeting in the middle of achieving something that's so big and kind of scares me that it allows other people to come with. It supports a lifestyle that I want. It also changes me and challenges me to be better all around, whether it's a better wife, a better friend, a better sister, a better leader, a better thinker, like just better in all the areas of my life that are important to me. And so yeah, I think a big dream challenges you in who you choose to become and how you think, and how you day-to-day life. And I think it's really important that you're not married to tradition norms, and you're truly allowing this like gravitational pull to shape you, like God to shape you, instead of following a path that is chosen for you by the world, by your friends, by your family, by your fears, by a narrative that keeps you small and not reaching your full potential. So I think it's big dreams can be more than just like doing a big thing, because even in that pursuit of like goals and like dreams, it's like people are always chasing the next thing. And I think it's really easy. And that's how we get caught in being unfulfilled and never having enough. And that's where greed can stem from. And that's why people don't live in the present moment, because they're always looking forward to something. So I would say that's why it's important.
That's so good. A lot of things that you said. What do you think helped you to break out of the cultural norms? You said you're a big dreamer all the time, which I think a lot of people listening are big dreamers, and or maybe consider themselves big dreamers, but they have been stuck in the traditional norms, whether that is go to school, get a good education, get a good job, or any number of things that society tells us. But what did you do to break out of those cultural norms?
I think it's an ongoing choice, because there's always things and people and conversations. There's just being chronically online, you're always being influenced and conditioned. So I don't think there's ever a point where I've completely been broken out of cultural norms, right? Like we live in a house versus living in a tent.
Yeah, that's a good norm to have.
But I think that when it comes to the cultural norms, such as fitting into like maybe a safe path, I was talking or I had a conversation earlier about how every like quarter or so I have this like thought when I'm like, should I have just gone to medical school and been a doctor like my mom and grandpa said, education
Yeah.
their kid to go and be a doctor because it comes from a lot of different things, but like the the assumption is that it's a path of safety, it's a path of financial security, it is a honorable profession, you help people. So it's I think that it started when I really allowed myself to explore what I like. Like as a kid, I feel like I've always known who I am. I've always known who, like what I like and what things like really excite me. I just didn't know that I didn't accept that I could actually lean into those things and let that be my life versus, oh, it's just a thing from my childhood or it's just something that I really like to do on the side. But there's this narrative that the things that we like as a kid, we leave it in our childhood. And I think when we're kids, we have the most curiosity, we have the most unfiltered play, we have the most unfiltered idea of what the possibility could be. Like ever since I was a kid, I would just dream of the craziest things, and I still do, but in a little bit more grounded way because I'm an adult and I've gone through life and things, and so I understand a little bit of how the world operates and what happens, and like really, just things that come with time and experience, building relationships and going through the trials. But like I know that I can't just like take off right now and just like fly to the moon in a millisecond.
I mean you could.
The statistics anyways. So I think it started from childhood and like allowing myself to never let go of those things and always stay true to things that really felt energizing in my body, that piqued my curiosity. Because as adults, I think the key is that we just tap into everything that we really loved as children. That like allowed us to get in that flow state and like a play state, like allowed us to like build and get curious.
That's so good.
Things that we enjoy inviting other people into too. So doing that, and then just like making that choice to not like to just be really highly aware of, is this something that I want to nurture, or am I going to be influenced by my parents, or am I going to be influenced by culture, or driven by fast money, or driven by a safe path that doesn't necessarily align with the things that light me up. And there's nothing wrong with conventional paths. There's nothing wrong with pursuing more conventional professions, but unless it contradicts what fills you up.
And everything we talked about last week, and you're misaligned, then that's definitely don't pursue that conventional path.
Exactly. But I definitely feel more confident that I am very protective of being pulled towards the dream versus allowing myself to fall into being conditioned. It's definitely not an easy thing, but it really helps to have a nice supportive husband.
And when something you said got me thinking too about pursuing a dream and making the dream essentially an idol, which I think I was guilty of that for sure in like my early 20s, which the dream was there and the desires were there, but the dream became an idol. And that's it was so like I have to get this one way, and basically ruined. I wouldn't say ruined, but my early 20s are kind of a blur because I was always focused on like the next thing, like, okay, how can I do this? How can I do this? How can I do this? That I forgot to enjoy the present. I forgot to really take stock of like the people that were in my life during that time. I mean, a lot of great relationships I still have, still keep in touch with now. But had I have like known and reflected and said, oh, this journey is like pursuing this dream is a journey and it's coming or it's gonna happen. Just have the patience and enjoy where you're at now. I think it would have looked a lot different because there was a lot of times that I was very stressed, very upset, very I'm not where I want to be, and just basically contemplating all of my life decisions, kind of like you said, oh, should I have gone back and done this traditional route because it wasn't coming into fruition at that time?
Okay, I have a little side story in
Yes.
relation to what you just said about
Yeah.
how you think back to the times where you were really stressed instead of staying present
Yeah.
in those like seasons and chapters of this story of your life. Um, okay, it's gonna be a little woo woo. I don't know if it's biblical, but it's like a theory that I heard a while ago that I really want to explore. And I'm like, I kind of like that. Actually, no, I just debunked it because we are not in space.
Mm.
Oh God is. But I'm gonna tell you the theory.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Let's hear it.
I just like the principle of it,
Yeah.
but I think it's not so, okay, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
So there was a theory that I heard a while ago about how we live on different timelines. And because we live in like a very multi-dimensional layered reality.
Yeah.
And so God is the only one outside of space.
Right.
And when we think of like our path on like a linear, like a timeline, right? It's linear.
Yep.
So when we think back, like here's where we are now. And if you think back to the moments looking back, going back since childhood, you can think back to these moments in your life where you were, like you said, like stressed out or you were going through the worst times. And for me, I think back to, and I was just thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking about to the time where I was taking care of my mom and she was, like I knew that like, okay, it's time to say goodbye. Or I was thinking back to a time where I was like bartending in college and I was exhausted. I didn't know what was happening. And I was thinking back to another time where I was, just in a really bad relationship. And like all those times, I always had this like inkling and like a pulling of like, it's gonna be okay. Or like, and eat. Sometimes it was that, or it was like, you should leave this relationship. Or another time it was like, um, just like there's certain things that I just had a knowing of at those different periods. Wow. And so the theory is that your future self, because you're in like it's like an infinite dimensional, interdimensional timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah.
So your future self, your highest self is like looking back and like pulling all those versions of you forward because all those versions of you technically they're not like died off. Like, your childhood version of you still you, like it's still you, but you've developed and you've grown with time, but it's still that essence, you still have it. And so I was like thinking, I was like, oh yeah. So I just closed my eyes and I started thinking back to all those moments where I just was not happy or I was stressed. And I'm like, wow, like I'm just imagining myself telling those previous versions of myself, like, it's gonna be okay. Get out of that relationship. Make sure to, like just sending myself like little messages from the future. Again, we are not outside.
Yes.
So I think for it to actually be aligned with what actually happens in the truth is that maybe it's God doing those things.
Definitely is the spirit just telling you.
It's not us. It's God's spirit. So when you're aligned with God's spirit, and I fully believe that now, like who we are today, we are 100% walking with God.
Yes.
Whereas before, previously in our younger years, like maybe not. I know me for not for sure. So I just think about how in those timelines, just you remind me of like that theory, that story of how in relation to pursuing a big dream, I think like we can always like look back to previous versions of ourselves and timelines and like we can see it so clearly, but it's not till we look back from our present tense.
And I think you got me thinking about the reason, I mean, you have a big dream to give you direction, and that dream pushes you or pulls you forward. You're like, oh, I want to achieve XYZ. But then you start doing hard things, and I think nobody talks about the consistency of follow through and becoming a person that shows up regardless. Because the reason that's so important, especially with dreams, is because in those moments, and lately, or in the last few years, I've really had to remind myself in the present, like, oh, you did those hard things, so you're going to be okay now. And it's really like the same way we read the Bible and we're like, oh, look at all these like faithful stories, is like you have a testimony of going through the hard things. And so even though you're on this promised vision, like the outcome, you're trying to help other people, you're trying to serve other people, like when it's hard and when you're stuck, you have to remind yourself of how far you've came, which sounds like cliche, but when you truly are like, oh no, you did make it, you did this hard thing, you were so uncertain. Because I can think of like 5 times where I was just like rock bottom, and I'm like, no, like just you made it through the last ones, like you'll be fine, just like calm down, like just take it day by day, stop looking at the future and creating anxiety, because that's just, it's a dream, but a negative dream. And so now you're worried about the negative consequences that are going to happen instead of the positive. But just reminding yourself and having that reassurance that you did make it through, because you got me thinking about the different, like telling yourself, hey, or the future self telling your past self, this is what's going on. And like our past self has to tell our present self, hey, you're okay right now, like keep going, which is just a reminder of God's faithfulness.
Then that got me.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about in those moments where you're just like tired and you want to give up and you're like you have the self-doubt and you feel so defeated, because that is part of the process. You're normal, like it's normal.
Yeah.
You're human.
Yeah.
And we are, like you said, big dreams are not meant for us to carry everything on our own. And I think that maybe we should speak a little bit to those people, because we've been there like that. It's like part of the cycle, but you get to a point where you work that muscle so much that when that comes up, you realize that it's just a feeling that your body's trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But like there's no other option but to be pulled by that dream. But I want to talk to the people. So my TikTok that went viral about like being like a good leader, being developed as a good leader by being under bad leadership. Um, I got so many comments that were saying, um, so the gist of the TikTok that I made was saying that sometimes God will allow you to be under bad leadership
Right.
for a moment so you can learn how to be a good leader and learn from what it feels like and the fruit of bad leadership. And it makes you aware, and it makes you have a heart for being a good leader. So that was the gist of the message. And I got so many comments on there saying, no, I'm tired. Like, I don't, what if you don't want to be a good leader?
Right.
And leadership is just influence. It's not about having a title or being in charge. It's not about any type of hierarchy. Like, leadership is just influence to develop other people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You can do that in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
No matter where you work, no matter what you do, it's
Yeah, you are doing that in your day-to-day life. Yeah.
whether you are or not, you are doing that. So you better make sure that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So many of those comments, it made me just have a heart for people. And I think people don't realize that it's not that they don't want to be a leader, it's not that they don't want to have big dreams, but they're actually just tired in a more practical sense, where it's like you're probably not walking with God. Maybe you're not taking care of your health. Maybe you're not even maybe you're not even hydrated.
Right.
It's usually more practical things. Maybe your nervous system is dysregulated because you're like constantly scrolling, or you're constantly on your screen all day and you're doing things that are making you feel out of your body, or you're dwelling, you just have feelings, and that's just what comes up. Or maybe you're a woman and like your hormones are in that part of the cycle. So sometimes I think it's like really practical things. And I think people need to know when to differentiate whether it's a moment that they're having where they're doubting themselves, but we are wired to pursue and be called into something bigger.
Yes.
So how would you define when you can differentiate that it's a matter of a practical set solution versus a true desire not to follow a calling?
That is, yeah, when is it like you need to do something practical like check your health versus you're like running from your actual calling or your dream and like responsibilities essentially. And I think that it comes down to like well, first and foremost, in your heart if you're running from your responsibilities. So like we all know when we have that thing, whatever it is, that we know we should have done it when we didn't. And that can be a small action, like you go to the grocery store and you see the cart like in the middle of the road and you're like, well, I'm going that way, I could help them out, and you just don't. Or somebody like when we went to Tango that one day, and the man fell, and yeah, yeah. So the man fell, he tripped and like was bleeding, and it was crazy. And we saw it, and we stopped the car, and we got out to help. But a lot of people will see that and they'll be like, I should help, but they don't. And so it's like just the bystander effect, thinking, it's definitely afraid of you. And yeah, it's definitely afraid of you. Sometimes I've been a bystander a few times.
Until I met you, I'm like, I'm not looking for
Yes.
it. I will read that
Yes. And that's a different conversation too, I think, because also that and well, the point of that was like some people attract unnecessary drama into their lives. Yeah, so we all have these things that we know we should do when we do it. So that's if you know that you're running and you're like called to be a leader, you're at your organization, your team, like nobody does anything, and you feel the call to be that higher standard, you're like, well, the whole team's not doing anything, but that doesn't mean I should. But then you choose not to do it, then that's like, you just got to do it. And that requires like, you have to step out on faith. The other side is, I like, stewardship has been like a big thing for me in the last 3-4 years since I started taking my health journey serious. And like I could count on a lot of people that complain about being tired, but then it's like you stay up till 2 a.m. You wait, you wake up at 7, 8 a.m. So you're only getting 5 hours of sleep, which is terrible for your health. You eat McDonald's followed by, Chick-fil-A, followed by Taco Bell like the next day, and you just do not take care, like don't work out, and then you're complaining about being tired. And half of that, like I've always worked out, but I used to eat extremely terrible, and I used to stay up extremely late, and I used to always be tired. And like taking my health into serious like question, I guess, and like just taking it serious, that allowed me to rule out health being one of those things. So, or one of the issues present or preventing the dream or like that desire stepping out. And so if you're not taking health serious, taking energy serious, you should, because your life depends on it, like literally. Bad health is like, you can die early, and you can get injured more frequently, and all of those issues prevent you from living out your potential, right? So long story short, from the physical side, you should know, and you should be aware enough of like, if you're a woman, when is your cycle? Like, I am not a woman, but you track your cycle, and you know like when your hormones are at its like peak and when it's at its lowest, and so you can plan accordingly. And so, and then for me as a man, it's like I gotta work out, I gotta even sit in the sauna and doing the things that energize me, so I know that I'm acting like optimal like every single day, so that my dreams and our purpose can like be fulfilled through that. And that's not saying to be a 5 a.m. cold plunge followed by sauna followed by cold plunge again followed by like all these crazy health things that people post online about, but it's doing enough to take responsibility for your health so you can rule that out and then overcome like the mental blocks that you have by seeking out information and like the right change. Because, and this is another tangent, but we were talking, and this is on health too, and like it's crazy how like just how little information it takes to actually change. Like I remember I read that book to you and you're like, oh my gosh, that changed everything. Power of potential. And I forgot what the quote was, but there's something about potential.
I think the quote was that it's easier. Oh man, it's like it's harder in the long run to not some
Something we'll find it and maybe talk about it later, but like you said, that changed everything for you, and that is the effect of information. And like people laugh at courses and like all these course bros, and which yes, there's a lot of bad information out there, there's a lot of fugazi stuff out there, but the right information can change your perspective, it can allow you to grow. And I remember I was telling you last night, I was talking about this podcast. I said I didn't take my health serious. I just was like, yeah, whatever. Like it's a diet, because everybody around me, when they talked about diet, it was all about physical appearance. And I didn't care about that. Like, I'm like, oh, you can just work out and you're fine. But diet and like food became a real concern for me when I heard the doctor. He said, when you put uh unbiological things, or if you put like non-natural ingredients inside of your body, like chemicals, your body, which is biological, is going to have an adverse reaction. That's not like a crazy fact, that's just biology. Like the way he broke it down is like, yeah, eating real foods, putting real ingredients in your body to connect with your cells, which are real things, is a biological reaction. That's it. I'm like, oh, I took biology in high school. I remember biology, like not a science major by any means, but it was simple enough. It was like a one line, 1 minute in one podcast that completely changed the whole trajectory of my life and taking my health serious. And that it could be something in a book, it could be something in a podcast like this podcast, it could be something in another podcast, but that information can allow you to change that mental block. And so coming back to the question, first and foremost, doing everything you can to basically eliminate the physical like blockers, and then finding the information to overcome the mental blockers, because sometimes you just don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. So you got to find a way to know what you don't know so you can overcome that. And then when you do know, now you can like make those changes to become a leader, to be able to pursue your dreams and go from there.
Can you clarify a little bit what you're talking about, the mental blocks? Because it's a little vague. So like,
Yeah.
how can people identify?
Yeah. So if you're in a situation, and so for example, just like from experience, I was an extreme introvert. I mean, I'm still introverted. That, and actually, side note, they came up with a new vert. It's like ombre vert or something. But anyways, it's someone who is like both introvert, extrovert. Yeah, it's like I just read it, but it's both. And they're like, yeah, there's actually more, because all these people feel like they're mislabeled and it's caused all these problems. There's a whole thing, but it's not worth talking about right now. But yeah, people are dynamic. But It was something else. It was like Otrovert or yeah, yeah, it is something like that. And you definitely are. But like when I started my first business, I was considered shy, couldn't hold a conversation, and that's a bad skill to have or a bad trait to have when you start a business, especially when it's around people and helping people and anything like that. And so I could have said, well, I'm shy, so I can't run this business, so it's not for me. And so the mental blocker would have been, oh, like I'm shy, I can't overcome this. But instead, what I did, I mean, I had great people in my life, which we kind of talked about last episode, but I found the information like, okay, I may be shy now, which is just an action. This like people skills and conversations is a like a skill. So if it's a skill, it can be learned. So what do I need to do to learn this skill? And first it was getting around people who conversate and who talk and who are more social. Like everyone around me, well, not everyone, but a bunch of people around me were very extroverted. And so I could learn and see how they interact. How do they shake hands? How do they hug people? How do they talk to people? And then like books, different books, like How to Win Friends and Influence People was probably the first book I read on it. I'm thinking if there was a different one, but I read like 10 or 15 different books just on talking to people and sales, like less sales, but more like how do you socialize, how do you talk to people, which overcame that like shyness, which was really just a learned trait over from my environment basically. So I wasn't shy, I just thought I was shy over after years and years and years of not talking.
Everyone has that too. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's really no excuse to, like, it's not a good excuse to say I don't know, because we live in the era of information and technology.
Yeah,
So you can find you
you
it's
can
so much
find
easier
anything.
to the people to find the answer. You don't have to,
Is
you don't have to be the person that knows, you
it's
just have to.
crazy. You can connect with almost any person on earth. Well, you can connect with any person on earth, but anybody you want to know, you could know because of your cell phone.
Why do you think some people are more prone to allowing that, uh the mental blockers,
Mm,
or like a lack of information, knowledge, or lack of skill to stop them from pursuing a dream,
mm,
or not, or versus other people like yourself, like myself, who don't give it a lot of power. Like, yeah, it sucks
mhm.
sometimes, but we don't give it the power to stop us. Because I know, and it's so sad, I know so many talented, I'm not talented. I just,
Neither of us.
I, you're very talented.
Nah, I work very
You
hard.
you do, but you also have natural talent.
Oh,
I don't think I have natural talents. I think I just like, I work harder to understand things more. Like, I am not, people are like, I'm a fast learner. I'm
yeah.
not a fast
Mm,
learner. I will just sit there and ruminate and try to
yeah.
understand, to just feel like I'm caught up. Thank you, ADHD. But I know so many talented creatives and visionaries and people who just use like that as an excuse to not pursue the thing, even though like I can look at them and I'm like, you could create like the most insane thing the world needs, but they stop themselves.
Yeah.
They block themselves from doing that. So why do you think some people are more prone to doing that versus other people who maybe you're not more talented or not smarter, that don't let that be something that blocks them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it always is like fear of what other people are going to think. And because when you, especially like myself, growing up like shy, it can be really easy because everyone knows you as the shy person. So when you break out of that, they're going to be like, oh, you used to be so shy. And they're like, it's such a drastic difference. They're going to notice it. So people are worried like what that noticing is going to be, whatever the blocker is or whatever's like holding them back. I think it really comes down to like fear of what other people are going to think, fear of change, and it could be like fear of what they think about themselves, because the internal narrative that they tell themselves is like, oh, I am this way, so like this is just who I am. And when you reiterate that over and over and over again, you don't allow room to like grow or change, and so you can just get stuck in that pattern. And when you act different than that, you are like confused and you start to feel uncomfortable. You're like, oh, this doesn't feel like who I am. And so you go back to who you were. And then all of that surrounded by what you mentioned, which was like the traditional norms and like everything that they've been taught their whole life. Like they're like, oh, well, that's different. So people want to belong. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually was just reading I'm in John 9 right now, and it's talking about where Jesus makes the mud. He spits in the dirt, he makes the mud, and then he heals the blind man. And the Pharisees ask his parents, and they go, they're like, let's ask his parents. Because the blind man's like, yeah, this dude just put mud on my eyes and he healed me. And they're like, well, let's confirm. Let's ask his parents and see he was born blind and this really happened. And they were afraid of the Pharisees because
Wow.
back in the day, you would get excluded from the community from the synagogue for things like that. So if they were to have said Jesus is the Messiah, and they would have been excluded from the synagogue in that community. So they were afraid. So their response to the Pharisees asking them if Jesus healed their son, they're like, well, he's grown enough, just ask him. And I think about that moment of like, wow, even people like leaders and people that are caretakers and even our parents can also influence us to have that type of mindset as well. So no one's prone to that. So it really is a choice to have that that mindset on your own, to just not be conformed, to not allow outside conditioning to shape you in those choices. So yeah.
One thing I'll say too is people are afraid to be held responsible because they don't want, so I mean, people are just, they don't choose in general. Like if you ever ask a group of people, hey, where do you want to go to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Anywhere's fine by me. Yeah, exactly. People don't want to be held responsible. Like if somebody doesn't like whatever the outcome is, so they would rather abandon their responsibility than be held responsible, right? And yeah, well, and that's like everybody, everything. So with their potential, with their life, nobody wants to be held responsible, which, so they think that if they just go with the flow and just continue to like live out life very passive, very willy-nilly, that nobody's going to hold them responsible, but God's going to hold them responsible, like when we're all standing before him, right? And even I remember hearing Pastor Irwin say that they abandoned agency by saying, you know, like, oh, it's just God in me, like, hey, great job, like you made such a great art painting or whatever, wasn't me, it was God, like that. So that's like a scapegoat too, which God gives us the gifts, he gives us the talent, so it's kind of like a no-brainer. Of course it was God, but I have to choose to use what he gave me and not give up that personal responsibility for using it. So yeah, people give up responsibility, they give up their agency because they're just afraid of what everybody's going to think or being held responsible.
That makes me think about just things that we do in the day-to-day, like even this podcast. Like I think people are scared of responsibility because sometimes under that umbrella of being scared of responsibility, for example, this podcast, like I know a lot of people don't want to speak on things because they're afraid that maybe they're wrong about speaking about something, or maybe they say something and then it's on the internet forever and they have changed in the future, right? So I think that people it comes with like developing your humility. It
Yeah.
comes with being able to say, oh, I was wrong,
Yeah.
or just being able to change your mind, being
Yeah.
able to say that you changed and putting your perspective out there
Yeah.
from who you are now. But I would say when it comes to abdicating responsibility and agency, when it comes to influencing other people, um, if you, I feel like you can you can trust yourself to lean into it. Because so Bible scripture says, "Heart is wicked above all."
Mm,
So sometimes it can be easy to question of like, am I the right one to steward this responsibility or other people? And I think that when you have the heart, when you know that you've done the work and that you care about people
yeah.
and that you want your words to hold weight, to change, to help people, like the whole point of this podcast is for not it's not for us to sit here and have mics and just chit chat
Yeah.
and be on the internet. Like that's
There's
we
enough
have
of
other
that.
things. There's enough of that we have other things to do.
Yeah.
But um, it's like everything that we've been through for a reason. And there's so many people who can really learn from it
Right.
because we haven't gone through super unique situations that no one else will ever experience.
Right.
So when it comes to abdicating responsibility, I think you have to remember that at the end of the day, if you can trust that you are driven by wanting to serve people, wanting to be aligned with God's will, you can trust that you will steward the responsibility well. And
Yeah.
it's a muscle
Yeah.
to
That's
make that
so good.
choice. And like, yeah, it can be responsibility is a heavy thing. Like I
Yeah.
think I can say like even for myself, there's so many things that I haven't created or things that I haven't done because I don't want to be responsible for if it goes wrong.
Hmm.
I definitely don't care about that anymore. I'm willing to be like, okay, consequences, whatever. But when what helps fight that off and healing from that is being able to see the good fruit of what happens when you do take responsibility and you have more weight. There are more people looking towards you for direction and clarity and guidance, and like bigger tasks fall on you. And when you steward it well and you see the good fruit of it and you see people's lives change and you see relationships and you see yourself develop and change, that's an indicator of good fruit that comes from it. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you can't it would be bad stewardship to not continue to choose that. Right.
Definitely.
Going on,
Definitely.
go back to what we were talking about previously about big dreams. Would you feel comfortable sharing maybe a big dream that you've had since you were a kid? Maybe it's like ongoing, or whether it's something that you dream about now. I know all your dreams, but I'm curious to see what you'd like to share.
I would say most recently, so we went to Hawaii. When did we go to Hawaii? Last year for my birthday. So one of my dreams, and this is a dream that we accomplished basically. There's like more to it, but like I remember because I grew up in a trailer park, and that was always a big, like, for the longest time it wasn't necessarily a dream to make money, it was a wound to make money, and it was like running from poverty and like, oh, I never want to be there, and like, oh, this stuff will make me more like I'm a better person because I have this stuff, which obviously is not true. But it became a dream of like, no, I want to provide for my family. I want to take care of my mom and like spoil her and give her like stuff that she'd never done. I don't want to make the choices that we made growing up because it was all out of like scarcity and lack. And so I want to have enough resources to be able to like take care of my family and then help enough other people be able to do that so nobody has to like struggle in that regards, because there's more than enough abundance for everybody to create a life that they're able to do that if, again, they take responsibility in everything we just said. But most recently last year we went to Hawaii, and I can remember for years, probably since I was 13, my mom every year would say, next year, I'm taking you to Hawaii. And she would say it, and the next year would come, and then it should say next year. And it was always next year because we could never just had enough money. I had surgeries in high school, so that, or like was in the hospital. So it was always something like bills. And then like there was definitely choices in there that led to not being able to go. But that was like on my dream list, which I remember um my mentor Greg told me, write a dream list. He called it a 3 by 10. And I forgot what the topics were, but it was basically 3 columns. And like, what if you had enough money to do whatever you wanted, like write down the 10 things you would do. It was like stuff, experiences, and then something else. I'll have to find my list and post it. But on my list was taking my mom to Hawaii and not letting her pay and like just experiencing that. And so when we went, well, the year before or before we went, I remember like, oh, I think we should do it because like who knows how much time's left, like just being present. This has always been a dream. Like, let's just do it and like take the trip and have fun and enjoy it. And so got the lei and then got was a palm can, the guava drink, and then something else. But we made it the Hawaii like gift basket. Yeah. And then so she saw that and she was so excited that like we bought the tickets to Hawaii and then we ended up going this week in Hawaii, something she always wanted to do, like us together. She was kind of bummed that she wasn't the one who did it, but it was still like I mean, she said not bummed, that would be the wrong way, but she was like, oh well, next time I'm taking you to Hawaii. Like she wanted to be that one. But just still the fact that we could go as a family and experience that, and even like the manta rays and seeing those, and how she wanted to go back to the boat because it was like crazy, but she was able to experience that. Like that was definitely a dream come true, and something as in my early 20s I would have like, that was like always what I strive for and never thought possible. But now here I am, end of 20s, which just 10 years later did that and checked that off. And so now moving on to the next thing, which is like taking her to, and you and the whole family, to like Japan or Egypt, or like something that we've kind of talked about, but then continuing to fulfill that dream of helping more people to ultimately, I think, pursue entrepreneurship or pursue their callings and help them to be able to do and achieve dreams like that is definitely one of them.
Good and confident about the things that we pursue, because on the other side of those things, like yeah, like we want to do things for fun and go
Mm-hmm.
have good experiences, but I would say the common um goal of our dreams, which is why we're just perfect for each
No,
other,
yeah.
is that we always want to take people with us. It's like
Yeah.
it's hardly ever about just us. Like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about how we want to like bring our whole family to, we want to take them like to certain places
Yeah.
and we want to like travel with them, or we want to like build something that creates a healthy culture and like other leaders, or
Yeah.
we want to, the podcast is for other people, not
Yeah.
just for us just to talk, right? So I think that you can find fulfillment in big dreams when it involves bringing other people
Right.
along.
Right.
And it's more, you can find assurance in your big dreams when it involves bringing other people and blessing other people.
Yeah.
I think it should
Yeah.
be a number one pillar in having a dream and
100%.
pursuing a dream, because it's very hollow, very empty, and it's really not fulfilling when it's just all
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. People say it's lonely at the top, but every single person, yeah, it's lonely because you don't bring anybody. Like every successful person that I know personally, they brought people with them and they're very happy, very fulfilled. And it's not like fleeting happiness, it's not stuff. It's like they are fulfilled. They have great relationships, great family life. Like they're living a holistic life because they brought people with them. They didn't sacrifice one area for another. It was what, like you said, just bringing people with you for your dream and your purpose. So yeah, what would you say as we wrap? What would you say someone listening to this, what should they do after listening to this to pursue their dream, pursue their goal, or even change their perspective on their dreams or goals to live a more fulfilled life?
Well, it depends. where you're at and which person you are. Because we talked about the person who feels like they don't have a big dream and they don't want the responsibility. We talk about the people who are pursuing the big dream and they're tired, but they're not aware that it's like practical things that they can implement. And then we talked about people, what else did we talk about? I guess people who are just in it, like just like fully in.
Everyone in
As in,
between.
right. And this podcast is for the all-in person.
Yeah.
So, but not to say everyone at the other stages are not on that path of being all in, right? It's a journey, and we give grace to you if you're not, because we've been there before where we were fully all in and unsure. But I would say that I think, I think someone listening to this knows exactly what they need to do. And it just starts with the one thing that is going to, and I don't want to say pulls them closer to the goal, but rather pulls them closer to the type of person that does the thing. And I know that's become such a mainstream theme now, but it's really true. I know it's cliche, but it's really true because it's all like everything that you do, your whole life, who you are, the people that you influence, it's not built and shaped by what you do. It's actually shaped by who you are.
Right.
And what you do comes from who you are and your identity.
That's so good.
So maybe we can talk about identity next.
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
But I would say you know what to do.
That's so good.
You know who to be.
Yeah.
Actually, you know who to be. And you can practice that super practically, whether if it's something that if being that person is something that is very out of your comfort zone, practice it on a smaller scale. Or bigger scale if you're feeling up to it. And if you are the person who has self-doubt, you need to get around people and you need to listen to the stories of people who have been where you have been when they doubt themselves. And if you are someone who's just fully all in, just keep challenging yourself, keep doing it, and find a way to continue to invite curiosity and play into what you're building and doing, and figure out how you can stretch that dream to bring more people along.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.